let us wrap this thing. Right. And we're live. We're live. Welcome again. Welcome back. Here we are. This is the end of this year's Short Sounds Film Festival. This is one last hurrah. This is the Friday night end of festival awards ceremony. We're delighted to have you all here, and we're also joined by some very special guests. Some of our festival jury and hosts and ambassadors. We have with us in the room with me, I'm obviously Dan, the Short Sounds Festival Director. Then we have our festival managers, Adam Merrifield and Matt Godden, who are here with us for the launch in the week. And then we have Steve Rafter, festival host and jury member, who joined us on Friday night for the Soundies panel. Steve is sound designer at Bomo Audio and head of TV production at Bournemouth University. Hello, Steve.
Hello there, and MA Sound Design for film and TV.
And MA Sound Design.
Bournemouth University.
And MA Sound Design. I always forget the most important bit, the bit he's most passionate about, his jewel in the crown.
That's right.
And then, of course, we have the wonderful, the majestic, the ultra creative that is Mr. Timo Peach, festival host and jury member this year. Lovely to have you with us, Mr. Peach.
I wondered which of us you were going to refer to there.
Oh, don't you worry. Minnie Mouse has got it to come, but she has her own unique entry. But yeah, fantastic to have you with us this year, Mr. Peach.
Wonderful to be here as ever. Thank you very much for the invitation. It's been a good selection of things to get into in a minute, isn't it?
Yeah, we'll delve into all of that. We'll delve into all of that in a moment. But before we get round to making our big announcements, we have one final jury member present. We have Micah Helmers, founder of Bournemouth University's MA in Post-Production Sound course and festival host and jury member. Equally as extravagant and fantabulous as Steve and Timo and the rest of our judges who aren't with us tonight, the likes of Ben Wilkins and Rupert Gregson-Williams, who unfortunately can't be here with us. But we have the core of the A team, I'll say, in Steve, Timo, Micah, and then us lowly organisers. So guys, coming towards the end of this year's festival, our fourth year, yeah. Our fourth outing. Matt has to keep reminding me because we're in our fourth festival, but our fifth year, so slightly disorientating.
Yeah. But yeah, I think it was pretty successful. I mean, there were a few hiccups, and obviously we were dipping our toes into some uncharted waters. But yeah, I think moving forwards, we'll definitely adopt a sort of a remote aspect to the festival.
I think, yeah, the plan will be going forwards. It's been a relative success, I would say. Would you guys agree with that?
I'm always happy with the term relative success.
A tentative. We're always humble about these things.
It's very political.
How about resounding?
Well, we could go with resounding, but we strive for perfection, Steve Rafter. And as you and I both know, there have been one or two technical moments, techno blips, we'll call them. But I feel like we've navigated those, and I feel like those were few and far between. And on the whole, this year's talks and the festival site and our live program of events, of the handful that we've done, have gone relatively smoothly. And I think the plan will be going forwards to have some sort of hybrid of live event and some online element, taking into consideration that we've been joined by people from around the world this year.
Yeah, you obviously don't get that feeling of sort of with a physical event where you kind of press the button and the doors open and you get like everyone sort of.
We need the buzz back.
We don't get that buzz. It's a bit sort of weird when it's a remote experience. You just press the button, and obviously it's exciting that people are watching, but a physical event is.
It's been, but yeah, I mean,
want to work towards doing again.
In the context of the online sessions, like having people engage live and post questions within the YouTube chat and get involved in that's been a lot more energetic than I thought it would be.
Yeah, yeah.
Like, it's created a lot more kind of buzz and
a learning curve as well.
Yeah, it's been more dynamic than I thought it would be. But of course, we need to get that buzz back. We need to get back into our cinema space and get that short sounds beat pounding again.
Get some,
that Timo loves to drum up.
Yeah.
Well, yes.
Sound exhibitions and yeah.
Steve and I were chatting the other day, weren't we, Steve? And saying we're pining to be off down the local with everybody, with the whole Short Sounds fam afterwards, and suddenly made us realise how much we're missing that. So, but that along with what everybody's missing at the moment, all kinds of other things. So that's a small price to pay for trying to play along with what we need to at the moment. And yes, it's opened up an interesting new experience for everybody, hasn't it? This year, done really well.
Yeah, and the talks as well. I feel like so. At one point or another, all three of you have joined for one of the guest talks, and they can be surprisingly transcendental. Like after you get through that sort of 10-15 minutes of kind of awkward digital 2D-ness, you can kind of start to drift into your own your own space and feel like you're just having a chin wag with someone. So I feel like I don't know if it's a good thing or a bad thing, but I'm getting used to talking to people through a screen. And
I guess it's the environment you're in as well. When you're in front of a stage with lots of eyes looking at you, it's a different experience to sitting in an office that you're used to.
Yeah, there's definitely. Well, it came up in I think maybe in the live launch. Someone asked a question about what was the difference, and people are definitely there is definitely a case for people being less on guard, sitting in front of a studio audience and being in the comfort of their own studio space or their own living room or bedroom or whatever it was. There's definitely a chill factor that comes through interviewing people in their own homes or in their own comfort zone. So yeah, I think maybe a balance between the two elements will be good going forward.
Yeah, definitely.
So guys, go on, Micah.
Sorry, also, if I may just interject, I think the fact that you've been able to put a festival together and offer this as a little beacon of light in amidst all of this shadowy darkness that we all feel surrounded by at times, I think it's been absolutely fantastic. And yes, we can say, oh, it's much nicer to get together in a real room or to get together for a beer after the festival. Boy, I totally agree with that, but I really appreciate, and I think this has been mirrored in many of the comments over the other live events as well. People really appreciate that you, Matt, Dan, and Adam, have put this together. So big shout out to you guys for doing this and for making this happen. Thank you very, very much. It means a hell of a lot more maybe than you realize.
Okay,
well, thank you very much.
We'll take that with all the humility that we possess, and we'll give a big round of applause to everybody involved in this year's festival, all the guests, all the judges, all the sponsors, partners, those that have attended, all of you guys that have logged in to watch and registered to watch and participate on the website, and all the filmmakers that have submitted films. It wouldn't be a film festival without the content. It just, it's one thing getting out of bed and going, hey, we're going to put on an event, but if people don't turn up, it's nothing. So whilst we're very appreciative of those lovely words, Micah, at the end of the day, a festival is made by the films that play and screen and those that attend. So, I think that's the least that everybody could do. Considering the 12 months that we've just driven through, is show up and have be involved in whatever capacity that may be, as organizer or host or ambassador or judge or participant or filmmaker. So we're just thankful that we've been able to keep some form of creative flame alive over the course of the last 12 months. I did appreciate Steve, Ben Cousins' comments on that when quizzed about what has been the biggest downfall over the course of the last 12 months. He said very specifically not being able to have a pint at the end of the Short Sounds Film Festival. He jumped straight to it. He couldn't think of any other negative that he endured over 12 months of in and out of lockdown.
It is that good. Based on
Yeah,
previous years.
he was sitting there in the heat of lockdown 2, thinking about when the film festival was coming back live in a year and a half's time. We definitely appreciated Ben's sentiment there. Shared to some extent, although there are plenty of other things that we would like to get back in our lives. Okay, all right. Let's talk a little bit about these movies before we dish out these awards. So, we had a fabulously eclectic program of films this year, and we had more films than ever before submitted over the course of the 10 or so months that the window for submissions was open. There are a few trends, there are a few patterns that we saw this year in terms of where films are coming from or who was submitting films. And, I personally was incredibly pleasantly surprised by the sheer amount of films that were submitted in the context of what the world went through and the restraints that were placed on people creatively over the course of the last year.
Yeah. I mean, it's like a true case study of art is reflective of reality, isn't it? Or it can be,
But obviously, a lot of content must have been produced in a time prior to COVID hitting, and a lot of the films must have been maybe at the wrap stage or been in post-production by the time they eventually got submitted. But there undoubtedly must have been a lot of content that got produced in the midst of COVID. And of course, there are some films in there that are inspired by the pandemic. So, it's a testament to people that, even with all those restrictions placed on them, they went out and put together some absolutely fabulous pieces of work.
Yeah, I mean, it's certainly a bit inspiring, I would say, that people are still getting out there, producing things, submitting it. If ever you wanted to kick up the bum, to stop making excuses, I think seeing the amount of films submitted to this year's festival and the quality of films submitted amidst these conditions in these trying times, that there was never a better incentive for going out and getting on with it and not making excuses. Guys, what did any overriding thoughts about this year's program, this year's selection?
Well, I thought the standard of the films was really astonishing. I thought it was absolutely brilliant to see such high quality films in terms of production values overall, but also with regard to sound and music. There were some superb films, and it made the judging sort of pleasantly challenging, really, because it was like you thought, oh, this is the best. No, wait, this is the best. No, but maybe that one, that was really good. It was an embarrassment of riches, really, I thought. And I was really touched by that there was so much really good material submitted to the film festival. I think it's indicative of the fact that the film festival is getting more known on a global stage, that more people are aware of it and want to submit their films. But it's also indicative that, the focus on sound and music is going up, that people are getting more and more tuned in to the idea, no pun intended there, but getting more and more interested in getting good sound and good music into their films and recognizing that as an essential element of the overall mise en scène, of the overall production. It's not just about dialogues. Of course, it's important that we understand those clearly, but it's really about creating an atmosphere and creating a sort of umbilical cord, an oral umbilical cord between the screen and the audience, and hooking people in through sound and music is just, it has been really well done in the submissions this year in the festival.
I'd agree with that. I mean, it was the thing I noticed about a lot of the submissions were that just the subtlety of the sound design was really nice to hear. It wasn't all kind of like, I'm doing sound design now, so let's do like a kind of, a Saving Private Ryan sort of internal tinnitus type thing. I've heard a lot of that. And it was nice to not hear that this time.
Evident, really obvious, over the top sound design play.
Yeah, it was like a kind of real sort of boldness in the sound design to be subtle, I think, and that's kind of when it works best, I think, really. Particularly for these kind of short films.
I agree with that
really
very much, Steve, too, that these filmmakers just had stories to tell.
Yeah.
That's the point of making a film, have a specific story to tell, and they all did. They had some lovely ideas in there, and the sound and the music, in every case, just served that. That's 101 for doing sound and music, isn't it? Or any component in filmmaking at all, which was nice to watch. I just sat and watched these stories, and when you're judging these, you never know what world you're going to get thrown into, and the way they're juxtaposed was, of course, quite a lurch. And also, I'd say as a composer, it was similar to Steve talking about the sound design. It was a sort of relief after, all the Netflix we've sat in front of, high production things, chuck all the score at it, all the films we've been watching. It was a relief to watch so many films that were subtle in their use of score. And one of the films I'll talk about tonight essentially had no score, which was as big a decision as putting anything else in. And I really enjoyed watching them from that point of view as well.
Yeah. I mean, the reality is, like you say, Timo, these are just films. We're a film festival. At the end of the day, whilst we have this theme that runs through the festival, and we like to associate when it comes to the guests that we attract and the talks that we have, we like to frame them in the context of sound and music to give ourselves something unique to talk about and give everybody something refreshing to talk about, as opposed to just talking about the writing or the acting. The reality is, in the film festival program, the films that are submitted are just films. They're not necessarily being submitted, by with a focus on, please judge my film in the context of the sound alone. What we are seeing, though, is increasingly sound designers and composers being the ones to submit films, or pushing their director or pushing their producer or the financier or the distributor or sales agent who owns the film, pushing them to submit the film to the film festival because of the credibility that the film festival has in the context of sound and music, and getting the likes of our jury members and our guests to get their eyeballs and ears on their films specifically to judge their work. So that is a trend that we're seeing, is that we're seeing composers and sound designers pushing for their filmmakers to submit their films to the festival. But yeah, our films were there to be judged on the merit of their storytelling first and foremost, and the technical aspects secondary. It just so happens that, when it comes to quality filmmaking, the sound and music have to be considered equally important as everything else. And ultimately, you're watching a great film when the sound design and the music are, have been completed to a high standard. Yeah. I mean, did we notice any particular themes or traits associated with this year's films? Was there anything that we kind of picked up on that sort of ran through everything? I spotted a few things.
Do you mean in terms of the sound design, or in terms?
It could be anything. It could be a technical thing, or a creative thing, or a storytelling.
I mean, yeah. Apart from the high standard, really, for me, the thing that stood out was the subtlety of everything. That was, kind of everything was held back. A lot of attention paid to backgrounds, really, which are often sort of, ignored, but really sort of interesting, rich backgrounds, which, make you believe in the world, which make you connect to the story, which makes telling the story more effective. So you engage with the story a lot more. So I'd be interested to hear what other people thought in terms of themes from the sound design.
Well, yeah, in general. Well, yeah, I mean, yeah, I mean, I would say that maybe potentially films felt slightly smaller in scale, like which was maybe would have been born out of COVID to some extent. Obviously, there are films as part of this year's program that were sort of exclusively within one or two locations. I felt like that was a sort of a bit of a theme that ran through things. Did anybody else notice anything in particular that sort of was?
No particular themes that stood out that tied them all together, I don't think.
Well, I mean, just anything.
Not many.
There was a massive absence of films from very particular renowned filmmaking countries that we would normally see. And that's obvious. That obviously has to be a COVID thing, but very few films submitted from the UK or the US or Canada, and those countries we normally see a lot of films submitted from those countries. And this year maybe just a handful, and that has to be obviously COVID related. But it also says a lot about the mindset of filmmakers in those countries, that they just felt like, well, these restrictions are too creatively inhibiting, whereas other countries just went out and kind of cracked on with a couple of actors in a room and sort of just got on with it. I don't know, maybe there's something in that.
I mean, this may be the most foreign language.
The program is very heavy, and as a result, the program is very heavily films not with English. English. And that felt like a trend. The other, go on, Tim.
I was just going to say, I wonder whether that then allowed through, all the sort of breath of fresh air that we're sort of all implying here. Is it because we haven't got such an Anglophone approach to stuff, and that that meant that there weren't people? Is this class discussed? But was it we had fewer people trying to be clever with the filmmaking, and instead just getting on with not worrying about the style in the same conspicuous way and having a story to tell? Is that because it was?
I think so. Yeah, I think we definitely had to broaden our cultural horizons this year, and just looking through the awards and the awards winners. I mean, I don't even think there's anything that's English language. So that is probably reflective of kind of the submissions for this year. The other thing, of course, that we noticed was that students had a tough time, and we normally have our student award and our student category, but students had a real tough time in the last 12 months, and as a result, I don't think we received any. I think we maybe of 200 odd submissions, I think we maybe only received one that was a recognised student submission. So as a result, this year we thought we would give this the Short Sound Student Award for Best Film a break.
Give the students a break.
We're going to give them a break to focus on other things.
Focus on their GCSEs.
I think probably part of that is not that students haven't made anything. It's just that getting copyright clearance for this kind of stuff they've made, because of the restrictions, that you probably have a lot of student productions. I know we've had that, where we've sort of relaxed the rules around using archive footage and using copyright material and that kind of stuff, which would normally be really tight on, which obviously means that it's difficult to submit to a festival like this, because so I'm sure they're making stuff, but just not in the same way as previous years. And then that means that they can't submit it to festivals. So but hopefully, next year you'll get a bumper load of.
It's going to be like it's going to be like next year's Glastonbury. It's going to be absolutely explosive. Yeah, it's going to be off the hook. We're going to get an absolute outpouring of student creativity. Hopefully, fingers crossed.
I wonder too if there's a lot of feeling daunted about quite how to process feelings and turn to all the different arts, including filmic storytelling at the moment. I'd love to see more artists get their head around what we're all experiencing on planet Earth, and it's such a big issue that may well have daunted people too. It'd be interesting to see if we get more kind of reflective stuff next year, or if it's just a load more superhero stuff to pretend not think about any of it.
Yeah, no, you're right. I mean, what we've had, if anything that we've had that's been sort of pandemic related, it's been very reactive. I wouldn't say reflective. They're very reactive stories to the visceral nature of lockdown and restrictions and a virus restricted society. And maybe in the years to come, we'll get stuff which will be slightly more reflective on those themes and kind of.
Yeah, we had one film that was beautifully front and center. Conceptual around that space of being locked together. I don't know whether we can mention specific films.
Made in China. The Uruguay film.
Just beautifully handled, lovely, neat idea with the best sight gag in a 2-second shot in any of the films. And I'm thinking of the can I spoilers? There's a
Oh, go for it. It's been there online for everybody to watch.
it's that shot that is 2 seconds of the reveal of him when they get married, smashing the glass underfoot in a Jewish wedding, followed by her water breaking, just bang bang like that.
Oh yeah.
That's my favourite moment in all the films. I think it was very well seen. So that
I'm with you. I was absolutely belly laughing at that movie. Like it had me. It was one of the most sweetest explorations of lockdown living
yes.
that I've engaged with in the last 12 months. And I've seen a lot of reactions to lockdown, but I thought Made in China was just absolutely brilliant, especially in the way that it was a comedy.
Yeah.
And we've seen so little in the way of comic explorations of COVID and of it's been very, so everything's obviously been everything's been very dramatic in our lives. So a lot of the interpretations of that or outpourings of that have been naturally dramatic. But Made in China just spun the whole thing on its head, and it just went completely farcical. And it was Python-esque at times. It kind of had this sort of weird Jim Carrey zaniness. It was brilliant. Yeah, has anybody else got any other personal highlights from this year's kind of?
Well, I was going to say not so much about a highlight, but just about a theme that I've been thinking about. That I thought a lot of the films reflected. Maybe it's what I see in that, and that's framed by the pandemic. But I thought a lot of the films were about the human condition. You know, they were about family. They were about love. They were about angst, emotional, loss. They were about bereavement. They were about, very close relationships. Obviously, you mentioned Made in China, but also The Van, this very close relationship between the father and the son, where basically both want to, yearn for a better time, for a better future, but they just have different perspectives about how to get there. So I thought that these very fundamental emotions of love and hate and wanting, of desire, of passion, just for the record, the fact that little robot actually wants to hear birdsong. Birdsong has been such an important thing in lockdown that people have suddenly appreciated birdsong a lot more. So to me, I felt that many of the films really chimed with our current condition here in lockdown number 3 in the UK. But as I said, maybe that is just the specific lockdown goggles I'm wearing at the moment. So I sort of these themes resonate very specifically with me. And I would also say, just to back up as well what Steve said earlier on about the subtlety in the sound design this year was really good to see, and quite a bit of examples in sound design where the sound pulls you forward in the narrative. So sound isn't just reacting to something that happens on the screen, but it's actually beginning to pull you along, a little bit like a mountaineer and being connected through ropes. The sound is pulling you up to the next level. So you're actually hearing something or becoming aware of something through sound before you actually see it. And I think that's obviously a very encouraging and to see and hear this in the films in submission.
Micah Helmers, the queen of sonic metaphors, yeah. Yeah, obviously founder of the world's first post-production sound course, and founder of the world's first sonic metaphor as well. Yeah. Okay. Should we crack on with handing out these awards then? Because I'm sure people have got all sorts that they want to be doing on their Sunday evening, and they don't want to see us jabber on forever. So without further ado, maybe we should dish up some of these awards. So we've got physical trophies on the table in front of us at the moment, and every year once we've given out the awards, we get the addresses from the filmmakers and post these out. So we'll be doing the same regardless of COVID. But yeah, this year obviously we won't be able to get any of the filmmakers in attendance to come and collect, but we'll be raising a glass to you regardless of where you are, people. So let's we've got our list here. So I'm going to call you. Our judges are going to read them out. So I'm going to call you guys out, and you can do the honors. So we're going to start with the award for best sound design, and Steve Raft is going to do that one for us. We're going to Matt can lift the trophy in honor.
You have the trophy. Yeah. Oh, there it is. Look at it, shining. How does it sound? Is it?
Sounds great.
Brilliant. Okay, very good.
It's got a quality, certain quality to it.
I would say it's got, yeah.
Okay, so the winner of best sound design for 2021, right, is Just for the Record by Voyin Vasovic.
Very good.
The film is just, as Michael was saying, it uses sound to really kind of beautifully creates this character. I think it's just really lovely to it's kind of reminiscent of WALL-E, where this character doesn't speak, but it's just basically a tin on a wheel, but it's got you really believe it, and you really want it to kind of get its bird song and have a listen.
It's very obscure. It's a very obscure concept, but it has massive WALL-E vibes.
Yeah,
it's really sweet really little piece.
It's also got slightly Ludwig vibes as well. If anybody remembers that slightly disturbing European animation from the 70s, about a sort of like a Fabergé egg that keeps sort of pushing things out of it and having wheels and stuff. There's a few.
Adam Merrifield's nodding here, Timo Peach. Adam Merrifield is a Ludwig fan by the sounds of it.
We are similar vintage, Adam, yes. It used to slightly scare me as a child, that thing.
Yes.
But it was charming, and it looked beautiful too, didn't it? I thought it was a really nice design film.
Yeah, it had the lighting in that was beautiful, and it did have that kind of lockdown theme running through it. Okay, well done, team. Just for the record, well done, Vojin. So now we've got Steve is now going to do for us best sound editing.
Okay, best sound editing is another film that's been mentioned. I think it's a really bold film for not having any music in it, and yet connecting. It's kind of harrowing to watch. I kind of wanted to watch it again, but there was only so many times I could watch it because it was really kind of emotional and touching and kind of traumatic as well. So the winner of the best sound editing for 2021 is The Van. By Enik Bakiri.
Enik Bakiri, yes, The Van, yeah. What a fantastic shot. Really powerful storytelling, incredible performances, shot really interestingly in a 4:3 aspect ratio, which really kind of added to the claustrophobia of it.
Yeah.
But then, no score, just purely, all the emotion communicated through the sound design.
Yeah, and so subtle as well. This is one of the films that I was kind of thinking about when I made that comment about it being subtle. It was, the Foley was just kind of very naturalistic, but it was there, and it really sort of, that combined with not having any music was such a bold move, and just having it, just gave it space for the audience to emotionally connect with all those characters in the story. So it's brilliant.
It was a big relief to not be told what to feel musically through it. That was, it just didn't need the score until that tone they had at the end that then did say something super subtle. It was a remarkable film, remarkable performances actually.
Yeah, very, very confident filmmaking in all aspects. Okay, great news. So Mr. Timo Peach is now going to give the award for best combined use of sound and music.
Yes, there were a couple that I rather enjoyed in their combination of things, but in terms of the overall storytelling, this year's award for best combined use of sound and music goes to the film Awkward by Nata Metluf.
Well done, Nata. Yeah.
This was a really delightful film. It was completely single-minded. It knew exactly what it wanted to do. Sound, style of music, distinctively quirky to go with those images. Quirky is not an adequate term, but you know what I mean. Complete package, just this vision. I want to watch it again and again. It was very funny. Plus, as soon as it ended, I thought, I want a series of 6 of these. There's loads more they could do, and simply should. So yeah, I loved how single-minded it was. It was genuinely entertaining.
It was just the tip of the iceberg in terms of social situations that it could deconstruct.
Yeah.
I think it goes back to what Michael was saying about the human condition. I mean, let's have the permission to be awkward again in social situations. That would be brilliant, rather than just being on Zoom and being awkward. It was brilliant. I also like the fact, it was one of those examples of when sound design and music being done by the same person really came together. It wasn't, I'm really going to do the sound and throw, or do the music and throw in some sound effects. It really felt kind of joined up. So it's brilliant. Well,
loved it for that. Yeah.
Yeah, very, very authentic. Very, very, very humorous. A lighter entry into this year's festival, I'd say. Although, obviously, just for the record, has light touches as well. But awkward is just straight up awkward hilarity. Yeah, great. And Mr. Peach is also going to now give the award for original score not produced for picture.
Now, I do enjoy this category. I think it's a lovely way of putting it, and giving it to composers to think critically as they do, and imply story in their own way. So great teething ground for young composers potentially. So this year's Best Original Score not produced for picture, it was close across the board.
Very close, very close.
Very close. So I'm going to give honourable mentions to a tied second place before I announce the overall winner. And clearly tied was second place was Moving Parts by Michael Waters, tied for second place with Caves of the Ancestors.
Well done, guys.
Well done to you guys.
Well done, guys. Yeah, very tight.
They were both stylishly arranged pieces. Sound design within them was very deliberate, and there was Caves of the Ancestors had this nice sort of something going through it that seemed deliberate without getting in the way at all. But this year's winner for Best Original Score not produced for picture was Spirit Child by Guy Dowsett.
Here he is, our resident sonic artist from previous years, who's obviously, again, not been able to get involved this year because we have nothing for him to install in. But great news. It was a very, very tight category. I mean, most of the categories have been fairly tight this year, but that category across all of the judges' results, very, very even. Okay, so where are we up to? Okay, so now Micah Helmers is going to do Rupert Gregson Williams's obligations, but he's not here. He was down to read out our best score award, but he's had to dash off to a live session tonight. He's saying
he's fixing his tractor. That's what
he's out in the farm. Yeah, as he revealed to me and Timo in our chat, he's milking the sheep, as it were. He's a rural man these days when he's not in the studio. But yes, Micah Helmers is going to do the honour on Rupert's behalf and give us the results for the best score award.
Yes, indeed. Well, thank you, Rupert, for giving me this opportunity to present in your category. But again, it was a very, very difficult category to judge. I'm sure the fellow jury members agree that there were some really, really good scores in there, some really imaginative use of music. One that springs to mind, if I may mention that as not the winner, unfortunately, but just to mention this, I thought the film Suave had a very, very imaginative approach to the use of music. Obviously, it was the opera that it used. And then feeding into that, having the opera on one level as a sort of operatic commentary on this tense relationship drama that was playing out between the different actors in La Nozze di Figaro. But it was actually the non-diegetic score that they then also brought into it, which really worked very beautifully with all the other sound effects. worth of a, it's worth a mention. As I said, this was a really difficult category to judge because so many really good entries. But the winner, gives me great pleasure to announce that the winner is the film that we've already had win in another category. So now I can debate how to pronounce it. It's Just for the Record, or it's Just for the Record. That's for us, of course, to debate. But Just for the Record. Very well done. Lovely score. Picked out the the kind of delicacy of the different characters of the different actors in the piece. The bird, the little Wally-like robot. Absolutely beautiful score. So very well done, and hearty congratulations for winning this category.
Well done, team. Just for the record, yeah. On Suave, I would just say when I first sat down to watch that film, I was initially thinking, oh, this is going to straddle a line this is going to straddle a dangerous line in terms of how cheesy it could become. But I remember by the end feeling like, wow, they've really come out the right side of this. Like this could have easily gone into a very cheesy territory, with the operatic nature mirroring the relationship, but it actually really worked. So definitely worth a shout out, Micah. Thank you for that. So we've come to the Grand Prix, the big one, the jury award for best film. I'd like to say it's up there with the Palme d'Or, maybe one day, but for the moment it is our crown jewel and no one else's, but still a coveted prize, I would say. So Micah Helmers is going to do us the honor this year to giving out the jury award for best film. Take it away, Micah.
Thank you, Dan. It was a really, really good field this year, and there were some absolutely stunning films. It was a great joy to watch such really very creative submissions to the festival. But the one that was just a real tour de force in terms of its editing, in terms of its, up close and personal of the narrative, a film that really took you on a journey in the film, a virtual journey, a literal journey, and one that was very visceral in terms of its editing and sound design. The film, as we've mentioned before, no score, was Eren Bakira's film, The Van. Absolutely brilliant film. Thank you.
Very well done. Very well deserved. Fantastic work. Yeah, go on, Timo.
It's just such a literally hard-hitting film, and the first thing that hits you is sound, actually, although the use of sound design is very subtle. Micah, I think as you were saying, that's a great example of it. Throws you a line of sound before you've seen an image, and there's something subtly brutal about it from the very start there, even just in the sound. And yeah, it's an incredibly moving and conceptual film. It has and that sense of claustrophobia about it, with reflected in the aspect ratio as well. Hell of a film, actually.
I had go on, Micah.
I actually liked the fact that you didn't quite, that first of all, you were introduced very gradually to what actually happens in the van.
Yeah.
And once you understood what it was, you just sort of this idea of two people, bare knuckle fighting in the back of a van, and actually that it's a fight of life and death. I thought it was absolutely, pounding, and really, what an incredible idea for a story. And again, it has that sort of lockdown setting, you're just trapped in this thing, and it's a matter of life and death, and you don't come out until, there is a clear winner. And not seeing, the gore of the fight, but just getting a flavor of it through the sound, but not overly prurient in the sound design that you just think, oh my God, someone's skull has been shattered or something, but just a hint of, real sense of unease and discomfort with that film. And then that poor young man, you know, every time he came out of the van, he was a different shade of aubergine, really. An incredible film. And, you know, the fact that they didn't use music, I'm a big fan of music, don't get me wrong, you know, but I just think that was such a bold decision. And to really, like Timo said earlier on, you know, it didn't kind of have the music to tell you, oh, this is dramatic, or this is scary, or this is terrorizing or terrifying or whatever else. But it pulled you in, you see. It didn't have a safety net of music that kind of massages your shoulders and says, it's all right, you know, they're probably going to live. But you just didn't know what was going to happen from one moment to the next. And then the scenes between the father and the son in the apartment, you know, cooking on that little stove, you know, there was such quiet, such wonderful scenes. They gave you such intimacy, such an insight into the relationship that they had. There were different generations. They had different dreams. You know, their dreams came from different DNAs almost. But they both, in a way, wanted what was best for what they thought was best for both of them. An absolutely astonishing film. And at the end of it, I couldn't believe that it had just been a few minutes long. You know, I felt like I'd been through a whole feature film. Just brilliant.
Yeah, it's a very, very effective storytelling from a writing perspective, even though obviously that's not the theme of our festival. From a writing perspective, they did an incredible job of building incredible tension and pacing the film in such a way that it made you feel like you'd gone through you'd gone on this huge journey with the characters in such a short space of time. Yeah, it's an incredible piece of work. Just, you know, Rupert Gregson-Williams' notes on this film. When he was sending me his judging scores, he sent me an email prior and said, there's a film in this year's selection which I do not have the words for. And then I just wrote back and said, the van, ? And then he just wrote back saying, bloody hell. Yeah, it was funny. Yeah, okay. Well, there we go.
Can we have an honourable mention
There we go.
before we wrap up? I just wanted to mention before we all go. I really enjoyed Archibald Syndrome.
Yeah,
I thought it had
Yes,
a lovely
yeah.
thing. It was probably for me the most simply enjoyable film, and the fact that it nodded to some Tarantino things without doing, you know, that kind of brutality was nice. It just seemed to know what it wanted to do, and yeah, what a great idea! And I thought across a lot of the films we had some really good performances, very engaging performances, so I just wanted to mention Archibald Syndrome. I thought it was terrific.
No, a very worthy shout out. Yeah, obviously paying homage. It was like homage to Tarantino. It was like the love child of Tarantino and Wes Anderson, wasn't it?
Yes. Yes.
It had an incredibly bafflingly quirky tone to it, and the concept was just total bananas. No, we've been absolutely spoiled in terms of the films that we've been able to program this year. So I think once more, you know, a massive round of applause to our winners, but also everybody who submitted films this year.
Yeah.
You know, thank you very much for being involved in this year's festival and submitting your films. It's a pleasure every year to get the opportunity to sit down and watch them and you know, consider having them take part in the festival. So guys, that's it. This year's festival coming to an end. Oh, okay. Well, I'll hand that over to you, as festival manager. You'll know better than me.
Well, submissions open for the new festival, for the 2022 festival on the 1st of April. The dates for the 2022 festival will be the 24th and 25th of February 2022.
Very well done, Adam. Yeah, very well done. You guys obviously aren't in the room, but I can tell you could hear that intake of breath prior to that. It was you would want to get your mics out for that. You'd want to get your placement mics out for that. Yeah, no, well done, lads. Yes, and well done to you and Matt for doing a lot of the donkey work this year, digital donkey work this year, in terms of getting the festival site operational and online.
Yeah, less physical donkey work, but a lot of in screens, uploading images and getting everything ready. But yeah, no, it's been fantastic.
I've had a lot
Best
of fun.
festival, yeah.
I've had a lot of fun.
Mm-hmm.
Fun?
Yeah, it's been a learning curve, the technical learning curve. Still lots to learn. I mean, on how to do live and technical and online stuff. But yeah, very interesting.
Great.
Guys, I would echo what Micah said earlier about not just this year's festival, how great it was to have you put this on despite everything, but every year's festival. It really feels lovely being part of this community, this family, and how it extends each year. To all of you as a team, thank you for putting this on for all of us lot. We really appreciate it.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yes, totally.
Well, I mean, and thank you to you guys too for being involved. As you say, I feel like we're a little Short Sounds family. Every year meet up.
Yes.
Just like a real family, just meet once a year.
If we're lucky, we'll get Christmas.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, no, I mean, we are a family. We are an ever-growing Short Sounds Film Festival family. Our judges, our hosts, our organisers, our partners, our filmmakers. We get submissions every year from people that we recognise, and it's great to see people's careers growing and creative people flourishing and developing as well. So yeah, long may it continue. Fingers crossed we get to have a live event in 2022. But I guess for now, we'll bid everyone adieu.
And keep your eyes peeled on the Short Sounds Twitter feed, Facebook, Instagram,
Indeed.
For any future news.
Keep your eyes on the festival website.
Or subscribe to the YouTube channel.
Subscribe to the YouTube channel, Adam says. One last thing before we go. Plans for this year's talks and whatnot, are they going to be going up on the festival Vimeo page once the festival?
Yeah, there'll be after the festival microsite shuts down. I think it will stay up for a few more days, and then we will email out the Vimeo channel for all the talks to all the registered users, and they'll be available for 6 months for the next 6 months.
Well, there you go. Okay, so everything will be available a couple of days after the festivals come to an end. But for the moment, everything's available up until midnight tonight. Is that right?
Yeah, and then things, because of different rights, things are knocking off suddenly.
Okay, so you've still got some time to go and watch.
You can watch the film this evening.
You can watch the shorts this evening.
The shorts and
Score.
No, Score's already.
Score's done.
Score's done.
Which? You can still watch the scores, you can still watch the talks, and you can still watch Which up until midnight tonight.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Okay, so without further ado, go and get some of that goodness down you. Leave us silly people. Fingers crossed for next year. And thank you very much, everyone, for being involved.
Thank you. Thank you.
Nice one, Micah. Nice one, Steve. Nice one, Timo. Catch you later. Thank you very much, everybody, for being involved this year. See you soon.
Bye.
Bye, guys.